Okay, so welcome back. This is the third video for week 8, and we'll continue our discussion. The theme, the topic for this particular video is looking at plastics and circular economy. So, in the first video for this week, we were looking at the plastic resource recovery questions. Like what are the issues and concerns, and how to go about resource recovery, what are the issues associated with plastic resource recovery. In the second video, we focused on trying to introduce the concept of circular economy. So, the whole as you know, this course is on plastic waste management. So, initially we talked about plastic resource recovery. Second week we talked about circular economy. I introduced you to the concept of circular economy. We looked at the two small videos on circular economy in general and circular economy for plastic or plastic waste. So, with the similar kind of theme in this particular video, in the next 30 minutes or so, we will be looking at issues of plastics and circular economy. So, we are bringing whatever we learned in first video and second video. So, we will combine it together now in this third video. So, how plastic and circular, which you saw some of those examples earlier as well. So, but now this will be directly focused on plastics and the whole concept of circular economy. So, just to recap, what is circular economy? We looked at it earlier, but just for a quick recap, circular economy means where you take the raw material, as you can see over here, you start with the raw material and you make product, you try to consumption and use. Then you after usage, you resource recovery in terms of the waste management, you recycle or recovered material, then the whole thing kind of coming back. So, this is whole the concept of circular economy. Linear economy was, as you saw in the earlier video as well, make, use and dispose. Here we are not trying to dispose anything, here we are trying to bring it back into the economy. So, this is the linear and this is circular. So, this is the circular part, this is the linear economy part. So, that is the difference. Right now, presently most of our economy is based on the linear economy, but we want to move from linear economy to circular economy. So, that is the whole goal of in what we are talking about when we say circular economy. That is our whole focus, to move from the linear economy part to the circular economy part. So, that is what we will see in this particular video for next 30 minutes or so, that how that is possible in terms of plastic. So, when we talk about plastic circular economy, it's plastic is actually a key enabler of circular economy, because it can directly facilitate the circularity of product, improve resource efficiency and sustainability, which is along the value chain. Plastic can have a positive impact in the range of circularity lever across product life cycle. So, what are those different aspects? They are materials efficiency, energy efficiency, carbon dioxide reduction in the carbon dioxide coming out, because we are trying to reuse it rather than just putting it into the dump site or into the landfill. We increase the recyclability, we design the product in such a way so that recycling becomes easier. We improve the durability of the product, so the product can last for a longer period of time. So, that is the durability of the product, and we are also moving from non-biodegradable plastic to the biodegradable plastic. As you saw in that I think 2 weeks ago, when we are looking at the alternative materials, you saw that different materials are coming up which are replacing traditional plastic and products with biodegradable plastic products, and most of it was for the single use items like cutleries, plates and other stuff, and bags and those kind of stuff, which is a single use, which was creating a lot of nuisance into the environment with all those Great Pacific Garbage Patch and other ocean impacts that we looked into. And recently we saw a news article as well, where a whale was found with nearly 40 kg of plastic in its stomach. So, a whale died and there was 40 kg of plastic in its stomach, and that news came in the month of like a mid March of this year, March of 2019. So, it's so that's the problem. That's the problem why this course is needed. That's the problem why the whole concept of why to introduce this course and try to have some discussion on plastic waste management. Although with an absence of a like a traditional textbook, it was never easy. So we tried our best. I hope you liked it. We are already in the last week, and I hope many of you are still with us. Out of those 900-600 people who have registered for this course. So, in terms of circular economy, that continue the discussion. We are looking at producing plastic from alternative feedstock. So, we are trying to become more greener. Use plastic waste as resource. You saw that example as well in terms of plastic waste being used in a road construction. Plastic waste being used in making bricks. People are using plastic waste to make different products. If you go on YouTube or Google, you will find several examples as well. We gave some example in this particular class, in this particular like in the videos, but there are a lot of other examples out there which I mentioned earlier too. So we are also looking at redesigning of plastic manufacturing products to improve the longevity, reusability, and waste prevention. Increase collaboration between business and consumers to increase awareness on plastic recycling, and reusing and abandoning the throwaway culture. So that's what the throwaway culture which has come into the society. It's becoming a nuisance in terms of more and more waste being produced. As a waste management engineer, as a garbologist, as I call myself, it's a job security for me or anybody who is working on waste management. More waste produced, better for us. But it's as we say that in any profession, the best thing that we can do is make our I would be really happy the day we don't really need a waste management engineer. Where because although I myself is a waste management, make myself jobless, but that's what say the doctors the best the day for the where doctors can come up with a system in which people don't have to go to hospital, and we have the like a preventive medicine, we have preventive health care, where if our air is clean, if our water is clean, if our soil is clean, half of the disease will go away anyway. So, and that's where we need to work on. So as an environmental engineer, our job as a waste management engineer, I would like to see a day when I don't have any waste to manage. That will be wonderful. Although I would like our job profile will change, but that would be the ultimate goal, where we don't really have to manage waste. There is no waste. We are designing things in such a way, we are designing products, whether it's a plastic or any product, in such a way so that things can be easily recycled. Of course, recycling is part of waste management as well, but again, no landfill, no waste to energy plants needed. That would be wonderful. I hope that day will come in my lifetime in India. So in terms of, so we'll try to bring the business and the consumers together, where we can raise awareness on plastic recycling and reuse and abandon the throwaway culture. We don't want that throwaway culture, and then developed robust information platform. So it's a multidisciplinary approach. It's not only it's a material science, it's a business approach, it's a management part as well. So it's a business, it's economics, the economic model, and having a lot of the data that is collected, that data has to be managed properly as well. So all the data analytics and all those pictures comes in here as too. So it's a multidisciplinary approach which needs to be adopted in terms of coming up with circular economy solution for the plastic sector. So in terms of the plastic or in terms of objectives of the circular economy, these bullet points are the major objectives when we talk about circular economy. Is the design out waste. So design out waste. We don't want waste to be produced. So think about what will happen to people like me. You will become jobless, but that's what we want. We don't want waste to be produced. We want because we have a better material efficiency. We don't want pollution to be produced from the system. And that's the whole concept of the circular economy. So, many of the environmental engineers might be thinking that we will become jobless. It is not. You will actually have a job of a preventive engineer, rather than you will be looking at what we rather it is a you will look at from a systems perspective. You will not be a end of pipe engineer that lets people do the contamination, then I will come and clean up. You will be a engineer who will work with other engineers from the very beginning of the product design, and so that you design the product in such a way so that it is easy to recycle. So, your job actually becomes much bigger. You have to understand other things too. You have to understand the process, you have to work with the chemical engineers, you have to work with the mechanical metallurgical engineer to come up with solution, so that it becomes easy to recycle, it is easy to recover. So, you're rather than being a reactive engineer, you will be a proactive engineer. So, the nature of job will change, and those kind of things are not taught in any engineering colleges right now, because see, we always hear about that future problem will be different. So, how can people who were trained earlier can teach to a student for the future problem? So, that is always very interesting. So, as an instructor, we also have to keep up to date. We have to learn things, we have to look at how the things are changing over time. We just not the bookish knowledge which is important, it is the skill set, it is the thinking which is important, rather than just the rote memorization. So, it's not that you just get my slides and get the reading materials, you mug it up and do this NPTEL exam and get a nice certificate, and that is it. That is not what should be the motive. The motive should be that I want you to start thinking, and that is what the whole purpose. So, that this whole because we do not know much about how the circular economy things will pan out and how things is going to work in the economy. So, there is a lot of learning, but we have to, somebody has to really be smart and start putting things in perspective. So, we will try to, the goal here is to design out waste. We do not want waste. So, we have to take the waste out, and also pollution. So, we have to take the design and waste pollution from the system. Now, and the key products and materials in use. We do not want the products to be discarded. We do not want materials to go away, like to be put in a landfill. We want them to be back into the economy. We want to regenerate natural system. So, we have to work as Mother Nature works. In Mother Nature, there is nothing called waste for most part. One process waste becomes feed for another process. As if you look at carefully, like one process is waste becomes a feed for other process. That is how the Mother Nature works. There is no really waste being produced in the Mother Nature. So, that is what we are trying to recreate. We want to create the natural system in our industrial system, which is not that easy, but that is why we need thinking engineers. We do not just want memorization people, who can just memorize things and just spit out in the exam, and that is it. We want people who can think, who can innovate, who can come up with ideas. So, that is what is needed in future. That is what that is what we are going towards in next 10-15 years. The whole economy will become a circular economy concept. We have to go that way. We have no other option, because our resources are limited, and this is the future where we need to end up, and people are already started working on it. TU Delft in Netherlands has a huge project going on, with several companies funded that project, and that's one example which I know of. There are several areas where people are working on. Even at IIT Kharagpur, we are trying to do some work in terms of circular economy concept, resource recovery from organic fraction of municipal solid waste, where I myself is doing some work with some of the PhD students. So, this concept is already there, and then future engineers has to embrace on this concept. We cannot get away with that now. It's already it's needed, and redefine growth and focus on positive society wide benefit. So, remember that social LCA. So, you have to look at the society wide benefit. So, you have to redefine growth, because we always we are so much fascinated about this GDP numbers, And I always think that what is this GDP number is all about. We may have high GDP being produced, but if there is no jobs, if the water is still we still have to rely on this water filter companies, and I cannot go to a tap and open the tap and drink that water like they do it in Europe, in many of the Western European countries. What kind of GDP, even if we have a great GDP numbers, what does that mean to me? Nothing. So I should have, it's the quality of life that needs to improve. I should have access to clean air, I should have access to clean water, I should have access to clean soil. So that's what and people should have jobs. That's what should be the focus. And so that's we have to redefine the way we define our growth. What we mean by growth. So that's and focus should be on the positive society-wide benefits. So that's important. And gradually decoupling economic activity from consumption of finite resource. That's very, very important, like decoupling of economic activity from consumption of finite resources. So we have finite resources, any resource which is there, which we are using it, most of it which is there on the periodic table, they are there. Some of them we call it abundant, some of them we call it scarce. But still, even the abundant has a limited, that limited could be like a bigger number, but still at some point of time we will be running out of that too. So we won't, so there are resources are finite, we have finite resources. So we want to decouple our economic activity, which is very, very important concept. So we don't want the economic activity to depend on resources. So every time we want to build, and then we have to mine. So thing is that no, we can, whatever is the resource already there in the system, we want to recycle, recover, reuse. So that's what the whole concept of decoupling of economic activity from the consumption of finite resource. So that's the whole concept, and that is because the mining is becoming costlier and the resources are limited, our population is going up, affordability of the population is going up. So we need to start thinking in terms of secondary material which is as good as the original material. So that's where the focus of research and innovation lies, where we can recover, take the material which is already there in our which have already mined from Mother Earth, and let's use it multiple times. And that's what we need to do, and and we don't have to go and kind of get more and more of material from the Mother Earth. So decoupling of economic activity and moving to renewable energy sources, where we, rather than fossil fuel based sources, we have to go to energy based sources. So that's, we want to go for transition to renewable energy sources. So that's important, and build natural, social and economic capital, which if you look at earlier, which kind of talks about what sustainability was all about, the buzzword of sustainability that is there for quite some time, that also talks about social, economic and environmental. So this is natural is your environmental, economics and social. So you look at all these three aspects and come up with the concept of circular economy. So circular economy is nothing but kind of another version of sustainability. More clarity is there. So as you can see over here, we want to design out the waste and pollution from the system, keep using the products and material, regenerate, try to mimic the natural environment, natural system, try to redefine the growth and look at the society-wide benefit, gradually decoupling the economic activity from the consumption of finite resource, transition to renewable energy source, build economic, natural and social capital. So all those things are again similar stuff that we talked about in sustainability as well, but here we are trying to put more clarity in terms of the whole concept of circular economy, and this is what the circular economy is all about. So that's what we need to kind of focus on, and that's where the future is. Whether we like it, we don't like it. Many times as a human, as a man, as a human race, we are lazy people, and we don't we always like to stay in our comfort zone. So we have to, it is time that we need to go beyond our comfort zone. We have to start doing things a bit differently, because that's what the nature demands from us as of now. Now, why it is important? It's a new opportunities for growth. It will create newer opportunity, newer kind of job, and it will also lead to reduction in waste. As you can see, reduce waste, which is waste. We are kind of having a huge problem with waste management issues, which we talk about in our other NPTEL course, which is offered in July. Again, it will be offered this year. So those of you who are interested in waste management can take that course as well, which is already, I think, announced on NPTEL website to be offered from July onwards. And there we talk great detail about the waste. A newer report has come. If you could Google, and you will find that report on What a Waste 2.0. It is What a Waste 2.0. So if you go and Google this, you will find this is a World Bank report, and which just came out in October of 2018. It is October 2018 this report came out, around Diwali, Durga Puja, those Dasahara time. And this report kind of talks about in how the waste situation will be in 2050. And which we will be talking about this in that other course, in the waste management course, but you can look at this report, and there are some videos associated with that you will find on YouTube as well. So so we have to reduce the waste. We are producing a enormous quantity of waste on this planet right now, as with our human activity. So we need to reduce it, otherwise we are already in a lot of trouble. You saw that whole the plastic waste getting into the ocean, and all that plastic waste getting into the rivers. And so that's there is a lot of activities are going on in terms of preventing that. So these are all reactive approach. So now the time has come with the circular economy concept is to become proactive. This whole concept of circular economy is to have a proactive approach rather than reactive approach. The waste management system is more like a reactive approach. The concept of circular economy, sustainability, life cycle analysis, as they are green engineering, pollution prevention, different names but similar concepts, they are proactive approach. So that time has come for us to go for a proactive approach. So it will reduce the waste. Try to have greater resource productivity. So we try to for the productivity from the resource, deliver a more competitive economy. So we try to have an economy which is more competitive. We try to position the world to better address emerging resource security, scarcity issue in the future. So we put things and address emerging resource security, scarcity, because we are having resource security and a scarcity issue, and help reduce the environmental impact of our production and consumption in the world. So that's why the circular economy concept is important. And plastic waste, and plastic being one of the important component of the waste management. 12% in India of municipal solid waste is plastic waste. That's what the reports are suggesting in recent times. We also have done some sampling in several cities as part of the Smart City program. We did sampling in Vizag. We have done sampling in Guwahati and some other cities as well. And we also found it was around similar number. It's around 12% of municipal solid waste is plastic waste. That's a lot of plastic waste. If you think of 12% by weight, so by volume it looks much bigger, because plastic, traditionally those plastic which shows up in the dump site are the lighter, and so they are huge amount which shows up in those dump sites. So we want to reduce that. Now some examples of how we are trying to reduce this waste, and how several companies are going towards circular economy concept. So let's start with Unilever, which is we'll go over some of these case studies in terms of different companies out there. So in Unilever, they are making some steps towards a circular economy, And so there is, as it says, that no business can create the circular economy in isolation. It has to be, circular economy has to be created. So there are again, they are looking at 5 broad areas. One is rethinking how they design their products, because a lot of plastic is used. So how to design the product. Now deriving systemic change and circular thinking at industry level, and working with governments to create environment that enables the creation of circular economy, including necessary infrastructure to collect and recycle material. So that's because you have to bring it back into the economy. So you have to collect those material so that you can bring it back. So that's some of the steps that company the Unilever has started working on. And they are working with consumers in areas such as recycling to ensure they are clear on different disposal method. For example, recycling labels, collection facilities, exploring radical and innovative approaches to circular economy thinking through new business model. So it again, it's a disruptive model. There has to be some disruption in the traditional economic model to introduce the circular economy concept. And but at the same time, you need to make it convenient for the people. So you have to make it, you have to convey information in a easier way for people to understand. So they are working with the consumers in areas to ensure that the consumers are clear on the disposal method. For example, there are recycling labels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, those labels which is there that should be mentioned very clearly on the products. And in terms of collection facilities, say an example such as Waste Bank in Indonesia, where they are helping create waste banks so people can deposit their waste in there, and then they get some incentive in terms of some certain either monetary incentive or other sorts of incentive, which helps them, encourages them to participate. And of course, they have to every like radical innovative approach needed in circular economy, which we have been talking about in this video and in other contests as well. So what Unilever is trying to do, they are rethinking how they design their package. They are trying to reduce the use of material, using more recycling content, ensuring that package is recyclable or compostable. So these are mostly, if you think from a common sense perspective as well, these are what you would expect it as to do, like reduce the use of material, which is happening. Packaging is getting lighter, more recycled content, and more like a recyclable and compostable material. So in terms of reducing the use of material, while they are looking at ways for developing completely new packaging solution, they are also focusing on use a lighter material, a stronger material which can be reused or recycled easily, better material which have lower environmental footprint. So when you try to go for these, again the analysis, something like LCA becomes important, because when I say lower environmental footprint, lower environmental impact, I need to quantify that, and that can be done using the tool of LCA. They aim to optimize materials each time they redesign their packaging or develop concentrated or compressed version of their product. But again, that is a challenging process. So when they have to redesign the product, develop like a compressed version of their product, so that, but again this requires some thinking, some innovation. They also look at significant they are putting significant investment in the amount of material in a pack. Even if you reduce by 1 gram, because that leads to cost savings, that also leads to your transportation cost reduction. So the return on investment is worth it. So even if you the amount of material in the pack by 1 gram, and when the innovation successfully reduce the packaging and waste impact in the value chain, that increases the material cost saving, and of course increases the sales as well. So they are working with suppliers, academics, startups, and other organizations to develop new technologies. This ensure a constant flow of innovative solution. So that's where the academia, engineering institute, students like you and people like me becomes very important in terms of whenever we try to going for rethinking of design. And I think the government also has a lot of programs these days going on in terms of hackathons. So recently we had this Smart India hackathon, and those all are focused on trying to have innovation with trying to solve tomorrow's problem with the newer thinking. We have to think outside the box, and Unilever is also trying to do that in terms of reducing the use of material to come up with innovative solution. So that's where the future is, and where we have to kind of go beyond our traditional thinking and just traditional kind of rote learning and question and answer, and then you memorize the stuff, you take an exam, you get some marks, you get some degree, and you have a nice number on your transcript. But your transcript can take you only a little. You have to really have things on your head to go a little far. So with that message, let's just stop at this video, and then we'll continue this discussion in the next video. So again, thank you for taking this course. We are now completed week 8. This was the third video, so another 2 modules left for you to go through, and I hope you have enjoyed this course so far. And there is a lot of activity on discussion forum, which is good. We are trying to keep up and trying to answer those within 24 hours, and we'll continue to do that. And any questions, any queries, please don't hesitate to ask, and we'll be happy to help and take advantage of the online sessions as well. Thank you.